Rare variant covers and near mint silver ages, signatures verified and supple white pages, pre-code horror found in backbins for cheap. These are a few of my favorite things. Ho ho howdy spectators, and welcome back for another episode of Spectales. I'm your 'Tis the Season host Jake, along with the jolliest beard in the South. What's going on, Jesus?
This is the time. I know you guys can't see it, but the beard is now white. A lot of good people and bad people and coal and presents to go around, mainly comic books, because that's what we're about. So the white beard has spoken. There will be comic books abound.
Are you the comic book Santa?
I'm Gandalf the White. That's what I am.
If this is your first time joining us for Spectales, thank you for giving us a listen. Spectales is a comic book podcast that has collectors and creators. What's your grail tale? Each week, we explore new stories about the comic book grails we love, the epic journeys behind how they were obtained, and how they inspired new creativity.
We also dive into some comic book speculation and how, as collectors, we can help the hobby pay for itself.
This week, Jesus, the train nearly jumped right off the tracks from the get. Luckily, you and I are trained professionals, and we managed to bring it all back in line.
Off the tracks might be a bit excessive, Jake. Christof Bogacs and Marie Enger join the show to discuss their upcoming Dark Horse YA graphic novel, Under Kingdom. And yes, we may have diverted the conversation a bit to discuss the 1980s coming-of-age cult classic Little Monsters. But there's no reason to get all dramatic, is there?
Is it dramatic to want an episode to go off without a hitch and to avoid any and all audio complications? Is that too much to ask, Jesus?
I would say yes. Yes, that's too much.
Well, then I'm going to get a tad dramatic here, folks. So in all seriousness, this episode was a blast to record with Christof and Marie. However, during our speculation segment that always closes out the show, as everybody knows, we ran into some minor technical difficulties that unfortunately left us with no audio for specifically just my portion of the speculation segment. We wanted to tell all of you now to avoid any confusion when you get to the later part of the episode. Very sorry about that. All we can say is we promise to make it all up to you next week. That's a tease.
That's a tease. And are they going to have to fast forward through like dead air? Is that what you're saying, Jake?
Yes, we're not even going to cut it out. It's just going to be just a bunch of garbles. Like you're just going to hear that. A lot of static. I don't know where the static comes from, but like, yeah.
No. If it's static, there's going to be people trying to listen. I can hear the spec in there. I can hear it.
You have to tune in. You have to use the tuner. Well, let's get this thing going. So never tell me Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie, and always tell me the odds. This is episode 70.
This is a conspiracy. That's what this is.
Just begging to course its way through your veins.
Let's just for a moment speculate, shall we?
You're into comic books, aren't you?
I'm a nerd.
But you do like comic books.
Comic books aren't just for sad nerds anymore.
Do you think we need one more?
Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Do you think we need one more?
Objection, calls for speculation, move to strike.
This is a bad idea. This is a bad idea.
All right, we'll get one more.
Spectales, a comic book podcast with Jake and Jesus.
Welcome back, all you spectacular spectators, and thank you for joining us for this episode of Spectales. Recently, Jesus and I were talking, and we came to the conclusion that having just one single guest on for an episode wasn't good enough anymore. So this week, we've decided to bring on two guests. It does help that our two guests did collaborate on the upcoming Dark Horse young adult graphic novel, Under Kingdom. So we have Christof Bogacs and Marie Enger.
You have to do it 3 times in a row, and then a door golem will open, and we can all go to the underneath them. And then all the sample pages that people can see will make sudden sense. They'll be like, "Oh my God, I did it!"
And Christof, if I haven't insulted you enough, I have another hour or so to keep trying. But thank you both so much for joining us.
No problem.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Jake, just on my last name, if it makes you feel better, even my family doesn't pronounce it right. Like, it's our name and we don't pronounce it right.
What do they say?
Well, we say Bogacs because it's easier, but the actual sort of correct pronunciation is Bogacs.
Well, what does your family say again? Wait a minute. One more time.
Bogacs.
Bogus?
Even that doesn't seem right to me. Oh man.
It sounds like a swear word for some reason.
It does.
Yeah. Swear word.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Either way, I feel like this train wreck has started off really great. Hopefully, we can really stick the landing. However, the show itself, though, is kind of on an autopilot because we only have 3 segments. So if I screw those up, God.
You've got 2 people, so if you mess up with one, you can pick it up on the second one. So Christof and I, like, maybe it's a battle between the 2 of us. Maybe this is where we stop being collaborators and start becoming enemies.
Oh, this is the what is it called? The origin story of you guys becoming enemies.
I'll take my heel turn. I'll get really into like crypto by the end of the episode.
That'd be so crazy if that started happening. Oh man. Crypto Christof.
Well, I am officially throwing all the notes I had for this opening. They're gone. They are gone, and we're gonna roll. We're gonna roll on this. Just whatever happens. However, I'm not even sure where we're at anymore. Jesus, do you have any direction for us?
No, I just wanted to say welcome to the show. This is basically the show. We're very excited to have you both on here to discuss this awesome Under Kingdom and kind of how it came about, and just pick your brains a little bit if that's okay.
Really, I mean, you probably picked up already that Marie and I have very chaotic energy, and that's kind of where it came from.
Yeah,
I was gonna say it strikes me like you guys have never met before. No, I'm just
it was so weird because I think Christof, you had followed me on Twitter or something, and then we met at Emerald City and we spoke very briefly. I think you got a Nightcrawler commission, if I'm recalling correctly. I
certainly did, yeah.
Yes. I so rarely get asked to draw Nightcrawler, which is a criminal crime. But you asked for Nightcrawler and I was like, I like you, let's go get dinner. And then now we have a book together.
Marie, I don't think I've told you this before, so this is a Spec Tales exclusive. Before I met you at Emerald City, I was actually thinking about reaching out to you for a different project, and I didn't. And my thought process was, oh, they're like a big shot. They've got a lot of stuff going on. They wouldn't want to work with me. That was my genuine thought process. So
that was all a facade.
It's wild to me that we got to work together. It's such a delight.
You both got to read the book, right? We sent it to you and you had a spec copy.
Yes, we did.
It was really fun to work on.
Yeah, I can tell you that you had a lot of fun. And you know what? Before I trip up over myself anymore, let's get into our first segment here.
Recent pickups.
There was a sound effect.
That's so fun. That was God. For the listeners, me and Marie were just beaming the entire time that played. What a delight.
I love it.
That's actually probably one of me and Jesus' favorite parts of every episode is when I hit the button nobody knows is coming.
That was awesome. That was really fun.
A lot of fun.
Well, thank you. But we're talking about the recent pickups, and our recent pickup that we'd like to discuss is Under Kingdom. So this is your YA graphic novel that is being published by Dark Horse. It's coming out in April of next year, but the FOC date happens to be December 12th. So from the point of when this episode drops, all you listeners out there, you're going to have about 6 days to get out to your LCS. You're probably on your way there right now because we come out on Wednesdays, so they'll have time. So while you're there, stop in, say hello to your shop owner, and say, "Hey, I'd like to place an order for Under Kingdom." Right? Well, listen to this and then do that. but I guess let's start with the origin of this graphic novel. Now, you said how you guys had met, but really, where did the story come from? Christof, was this something you had internally already written, or that you had in your head, or was it a collaborative, we want to do something, we don't know what it is yet?
You know what? I would say both. There's kind of 2 points. The first is maybe like 2013-ish. I kind of had an idea for like the very kind of core idea of Under Kingdom, which is like a kid, although at the time it was like a teenager, young adult, his mother disappears, finds out that there's this like world of monsters beneath his town and has to then lead them. But I mean, I originally kind of envisioned it as an adult thing, but that kind of essentially what it would have to become was like Breaking Bad with monsters. I didn't want to do that, so I kind of just put it on the back burner. I didn't really know how to progress. And then Marie approached me in 2017 because they wanted to develop something, for the kids' book market. And we just kind of talked a little bit about, it started with the TV show Troll Hunters, which we both adore.
Yes.
And it kind of started with us sort of talking about what we liked about the most recent season of it, what we didn't like, or not so much what we didn't like, but like what the sort of direction that we would have liked to see the story go in. And then that kind of led to me being like, oh yeah, I have this idea for this like story about like a kid who finds that, his mom disappears and finds out that there's this world of monsters beneath his town. And then Marie was into it. And then we, then the story was completely reborn, for a middle grade or for a young YA and kids audience. And then it kind of took on new life. I think once I realized that, if it is for kids, it doesn't have to be like Breaking Bad with monsters. We can make it like fun and silly and nice and, sweet, and so that to me was kind of the genesis of what Under Kingdom is now, in the book, what you actually see when you pick up the book.
For me, I really enjoyed it, and I don't know, I guess I'm dating myself, but I grew up with a movie called Little Monsters. Do you guys remember that movie?
Yes.
I don't know that movie, unfortunately.
I don't know that one would have made it to Australia, but it's really. Have you watched it recently?
Howie Mandel? Little Monsters?
Yeah, it is Howie Mandel. Yeah, and Fred Savage.
He's the monster, and Fred Savage is the kid, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know how it holds up. I mean, this thing came out in 1989. I don't know how it's gonna hold up. But it is
the practical effects got to be so cool.
Yeah, there was a lot of like, I guess practical effects and makeup. There was a lot of makeup in there. And so it kind of gave me a lot of those vibes. And I was like, oh man, this is like monsters underneath, in that story is underneath his bed is how you get into that world. And it's a whole, like it opened up a whole world. And that's how my mind went to like, oh man, there's a whole world underneath the regular world that he didn't even know about. And so I think it's really cool. And like you said, it's very, cute and it's a YA book. So like I'm going to go and I'm going to order mine for my kids. I have a 14-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Oh, amazing.
And this is right up their alley. So I'm very excited about it.
That's great. No, that's great to hear.
What I want to say on the look, I obviously haven't seen Little Monsters, but something that I try and do, a lot I think all creators do this, but Marie and I especially, is in the stuff we do for kids, we try and get to the core of what we liked in media as kids, and then trying to, and then try and sort of recreate that in a way that's unique to us. And I mean, one of the best sort of tropes from kids fiction is like the other world trope,
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of our take on that trope. And I guess the other thing I'd bring up is like, as you probably picked up from the book, there's a lot of rapid fire humor and it's like very joke dense. Like, sometimes when I reread it, I wonder if, I maybe should have edited some of the jokes out. But again,
that was Connor's job. If we were not to have the jokes, Connor would have gotten rid of the jokes.
But the reason I bring that up is I remember as a kid, I adored stuff with that rapid fire humor. So again, so I think, I'm so glad it evoked, that film for you, Jesus. Yeah.
And just to clarify, it's like, I'm not saying they're the same, right? I'm just saying that's what was going through my head as I was reading it. And the laughter that I was getting out of it, like my favorite characters so far right now are the imps. They're just funny to me.
Yes.
And the joke of if you go into your car and it smells like a fart, it was them. To me, that's like that's just funny. Like they're just imps are everywhere, making your life miserable. So that's what it evoked for me. And it's great. That's why I really enjoyed it. Again, that little monsters I grew up with, and that's the feeling I got from it. So I'm very excited, very happy about being able to read this book, this graphic novel.
Thank you so much.
Well, I'd like to chime in. Jesus, I'm glad you brought up Little Monsters, because that was something that I felt a connection to as well, like a nostalgic connection. So that was totally fun for me. And then also bringing up the rapid fire, I'm glad you did, because the speed, I read this fast. And I understand I am an adult reading a YA graphic novel, so hopefully it's fast. However, I was going to ask, though, because just the way it is written, you said rapid fire. I was just like, whoa, this thing is paced. Like, it is fast. And I was wondering about the art and how, Marie, how you address that. Like, when you get the script, is it written like that? And because the thing that I thought worked out well was the speed of the words matched the art, or the art matched the speed of the words, I guess.
I think that's just Christof and I work very well together, and kind of I think we have a rapport with each other where I can get a script like that and figure out a way to make it work, because Christof isn't giving me like super heavily detailed notes. I don't think, like, or
I mean,
am I ignoring them? No.
But also, like, I think the script is like, I think Brian Michael Bendis once described the script as like, it's a roadmap. Basically, I tell Marie the destination, and everything, like, they can figure out how they want to get there, and they can even change the destination if they want to, like, that's the,
I feel like it was really easy, and I don't have like a really complicated answer. It's just like, oh, I drew it like that because it made sense.
Well, and I read it, and it just seems so natural. I was wondering how you guys decided a cadence, because it read super quick.
There is a bit of an answer to that, but it's not necessarily like super exciting, which is just that, in terms of like Marie's schedule and from a budgeting standpoint, it needed to be a smaller book, so that was part of it.
Also, just like the way that our writing styles both kind of are, and I write as well as draw. So both of us just kind of are rapid fire people with rapid fire scripts, with rapid fire senses of humor. And I think I think our paces just really meshed up on this one really, really well. And so we ran at like full speed together. Hopefully we can continue that sort of like pacing and joke density for book 2.
Yeah.
And then in book 3, we can really shake it up and break people's hearts. After they get used to it, it'll be like, here's a roadblock, jump over this.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll get book 3. I don't know.
See, you kind of touched a topic there. Book 2. So I'm not gonna
ruin it or anything, but there is an open end there. Spoiler. Spoiler.
The kids' book, there has to be an opening for book 2.
Oh, okay. So I just want to give Jesus shit for spoiling it. All of our listeners are pissed at him now.
No. So are we gonna get more? I'm sorry, I just like the world, man. Are we gonna get more?
I would love to do more. It was like when all of I worked on another book at the same time as this, so my schedule was really, really, really full, and it was a completely different sort of book. I drew Where Black Stars Rise, which came out in October this year, but is an adult horror book about mental illness. It's really intense. And whenever I would work on that, I would do like a day of Where Black Stars and then a day of Under Kingdom, so that my mood wouldn't just get really destroyed. And it was great. And so I loved working on it. And when Christof sent me an outline for book 2, I was really, really excited. And I I would really, just like for my own mental health, love to make a book 2 happen. And since it's a creator owned book, we potentially could do that. I would obviously hope that Dark Horse would give us another book, but if they don't, then
not to switch into business mode here, Marie, but you know, like, you know, in a lot of ways, the success of, you know, a book going to series is in the hands of the market, right? So, you know, the best thing people can do if they want to see a book 2, is pick up book 1, you know. But I guess from our end, we like a king, we want it, you know, we want to do it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's really fun. Like book 2, I think is like, it's a little more intense. Our themes, but we've got even cooler monsters and some famous monsters which people are big fans of, that I don't want to spoil.
Freddy Krueger's in book 2.
I love, oh god, my little nephew got afraid of Freddy Krueger last year, and I was like, don't even worry about him, because I'm totally friends with Freddy, because he's like a colleague, right? He works in horror too, it counts. We all deal in nightmares, so don't worry about Freddy. I got it. It's fine. No more Freddy.
Very nice. Well, before we move on to our next segment, I want to touch back on the artwork here, because Marie, I don't know that we've really dove in quite as deep as I'd like to into the background behind how you decided to. It's such a unique art style. Before this, and I mean that in a way, like, it reminded me of a cartoon, is what I wanted to say. It reminded me of a children's cartoon, much like Adventure Time that we had talked earlier. Not that it's a similar style, but that the way that the visuals moved and page to page, it just spoke like a cartoon to me. And I wanted to know, I guess, how you came to this style.
Well, I want to know which cartoon you thought it was, because it is exactly a cartoon. Like you're spot on 100%, but I want to know what cartoon you think it is. We both can guess.
Oh, man. I'm trying to think, because there's a lot of them around that time that I would watch.
It was a Nicktoons lineup, and
yeah,
Netflix did do a reboot recently, and they squished it up real soft. It was Invader Zim.
Yeah. When you hear it, you're like, oh, of course.
Yeah, no, that's it. I learned to draw from Invader Zim. I went to Catholic school, and there was not a whole lot of resources for art, so I just kind of like drew what I had access to. And I never had cable, but for 6 months when we moved to Missouri, my family had cable that the other family forgot to disconnect. And I saw Invader Zim for the first time, and it was like, I remember the first cartoon where I was ever like, animation is art, and it was Samurai Jack. But I remember the first time I saw a cartoon, and I was like, oh, I have to draw now, I guess. It was Invader Zim, and I was so disgusted by what I had seen and so afraid that I was like, I guess I have to draw this for the rest of my life and make it my job and do all that stuff. So yeah, I learned to draw from Invader Zim, and then that was kind of all I had in the way of comics also until I went to college. So that's why I draw that way. And I never had a mouse. I never had a Wacom, so I used a Adobe Illustrator and a mouse.
Oh, really?
For years. Yep, for years. And I did my first 2 self-published comics completely in Adobe Illustrator with a mouse and not a Wacom. Yep. So I'm really good at Illustrator. And so when you do that, it turns out it like alters your art style forever. So I don't really have good perspective because I learned to draw from Invader Zim. And I draw big chunky hands and weird ears because I learned to draw from Invader Zim. And people always say that I have like Mignola work sometimes, or compare me to Mignola, which is a flattering thing. But it's super weird because I didn't read Hellboy until I was like 23, and way out of my like, this is going to influence me artistic wise phase. Jim Mahfood too, like also was not even like something that I had really been into until I was much older, because I didn't do comics until I was like 22, 23, or really read them. So I came to it really late. But yeah, that's why everything looks like that. My degree is in animation, so maybe that's also why pacing is that way.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I see a lot of Samurai Jack in there too, now that you mentioned, because that was one that I was kind of leaning towards. And that was one of my favorite That was one of my favorite cartoons. But that's just, and that's interesting too, because now that you say Magnolia too, I'm like, okay, I can definitely see
It's the
that as
spot
well.
blacks.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's funny. It's
I-
funny because you see it in your, like you register it in your head, but until you say it, it's when it finally like clicks.
Yeah, no, it's weird. Like I know that my art style is going to be very much like some people really like it and some people really will not like it. And I've got this kind of neat art superpower where that doesn't bother me at all because I know some people really like it and some people really don't like it. And some people are just never going to like it no matter what I do because it's just hyper stylized and very strange because Invader Zim was that way. And it was so striking to me that it never left my brain. And so now as an adult and as a creator, I'm always drawn to a style that's very unique and very weird. Just because it's amazing that people can come up with this stuff and get to that point. I don't know. It's always very cool to see.
I think, Marie, particularly now, we're getting like more kind of, I guess, corporate sort of a voice to films and, kind of like content as opposed to it being maybe always artistically driven. I think more than ever, people are gravitating towards stuff that just has an artistic voice, a really strong artistic voice, even if they don't connect with that artistic voice themselves, I think they when they see it, they can respect it, or at least I do. There are plenty of creators that have strong voices I don't like necessarily connect with their work, but I love that it's theirs and that I can tell it's theirs.
Mm-hmm. Ditto.
Yeah. So a couple of things on that. One, I mean, this type of art to me is going to do the same thing for somebody that Invader Zim did 100%. For you, right? Like, and so that's why I think it's really cool because it has a lasting impression. And then two, like, it's true. There's a lot of like, I guess the word maybe is monolithic stuff that's coming out as far as art goes. And I, for one, and I'll give you guys an example. Like, I'm a big sports fan, the NBA. All the NBA jerseys are going to the block lettering across the front chest. Yeah. But when I grew up, they had mascots. Like they had the Toronto Raptors, which was a raptor holding a basketball, the Memphis Grizzlies biting the basketball, or an actual rocket for the Houston Rockets, right? Like, and that's going by like away because it's all getting corporate and stuff like that. So this is definitely unique and it stands out in a time when the art stuff is actually like, kind of skewing the other way. So I always feel it's better to stand out than to kind of blend in.
Yeah, totally.
I cannot blend in.
This thing's going to be hardback, right? This thing's going to be...
Oh my God. Tell Dark Horse you want it in hardback because I want it in hardback too.
Yeah. So, I want to be able to like hand it to my kid, right? Like that's going to be the moment.
So I
want that so bad.
So I think it's getting, at least this initial printings in paperback, just because I guess, we wanted cheap and accessible. That was, I think a big part of it as well.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? I'll give them that too. So
maybe they'll let us do like a nice, like 3-volume collection where we can do like a nice wraparound Monster Parade cover. Because I want to do all the covers so that they match. Thought about that in my brain before we even started. I was like, God, if we get a book 2 and 3, what am I going to do?
You could do like
positive energy.
You could do the Star Wars thing where you do like half a face on the spines where it's of different characters. Yeah, I've got all sorts of ideas. You can have them all.
I love it. I'm a sucker for good book design, and God, I want us to have a really beautiful collection. Maybe if we do really well, they'll even put it in like a little slip box that you can take out of the box.
The dream.
Yeah, that's the slip box dream.
Some people want an Eisner. I just want a slip box for all my collections.
Well, it really was a treat to read, and we'll circle back when we get to the end of the episode. But guys, it's time for me to hit another button.
Grail tale. Grail tale. Grail tale. Grail tale. Grail tale.
That was
I love it.
That's amazing.
We have entered the Grail Tale segment, which is me and Jesus's favorite because we get to ask you guys, what is your Grail Tale? What is your most prized comic or collectible possession that is unique to you? And Christof, I'm going to let Marie go first.
Yeah.
I really agonized over this. I've been thinking about it ever since I got your email because I don't collect stuff. Like for real, I have a lot of books, but none of them are particularly rare. And I don't have any like rare. I guess like all of my zines are technically rare because they're very small print runs, but that's not because the publisher did that or because they're particularly valuable. It's just because all my friends are punks, and would only do like 30 at a time. 30 at a time. So, but I do have a lot of Abe Sapiens, and I have a lot of the same exact Abe Sapien. Because here I'll go get him. No one else can see this because it's video only, it's audio only, but I'll get one here. So I have about 7 of these tiny itty bitty Hellboy Abe Sapien plush dolls because I really like Abe Sapien, and I've always really liked Abe Sapien. But one year, Dark Horse was like, "We're gonna release this weird itty bitty Hellboy Abe Sapien plush doll," and everyone in my life was like, "I see this. Marie loves Abe Sapien. I'm gonna get this for Marie." And so for Christmas, I got like 3 of them from friends. Then for my birthday, I got like another 3 of them from people. And then someone gave me one at a convention. So they were just like all over my house. And I like Abe Sapien a lot, but I don't necessarily know that I would have like chosen 7 of the exact same plush toy for my house because it makes me look kind of deranged. And once you have too many of one thing, everyone in your life is like, you're a collector of that thing now. So let me introduce you to all my other Abe Sapiens. Abe Sapien over there by my collection of Abe Sapiens. There's a bunch of Abe Sapien toys in my living room because everyone gave me all their Abe Sapien toys that they could find. I have an insane looking Funko Pop Abe who I did not want, but was given because it was Abe Sapien. So you get cursed with that one. But I do have, and I'm not going to go move him because he's kind of heavy, but I'll tilt my computer screen up and maybe you can see him right back there. There's an Abe Sapien from the animated series. Maquette, not a doll, a maquette. And my mom got it for my birthday and she said, "No one must like this character because he was only $20. Oh, okay. Thanks. And I proudly displayed him wherever I go. And then I rounded out my collection of a million Abe Sapiens with an Abe Sapien tattoo from Brian Level, which is, like it's like an original Abe Sapien art, but from Brian Level on my skin forever until I die. And I love it. It's great. But now I think I've just accepted that for the rest of my life, people are going to be bringing me Abe Sapiens, which is totally fine. I do love Abe Sapien. And I think that Hellboy, it'd be itty bitty Hellboy, Abe Sapien toy has been discontinued. So I probably won't be getting any more of these. Please don't bring me any more of these if you see them in the wild. I am not joking. I don't need any more. I have all of them.
Spectators out there, you've heard the challenge. Please go to eBay, go to your local store, find as many of these Abe Sapien plush dolls as we can. Apparently, they're cheap, and we need to send them all to Marie.
These cheap Abe Sapiens. It was so sad. I was so excited to get this gift. I was like, "This is great. I can't believe you found this." She's like, "Nobody must like him. He must be so unpopular. This horrible cartoon that you like." She didn't say that. My chiropractor is blind, which is a little bit of a weird thing. He had an accident when he was a kid, so he used to be sighted, but now he's blind. And when he first started trying to help me unkink my back, he was like, what do you do for a job? And I said, I'm a comic artist. And I told him about Under Kingdom because people know what Dark Horse is and they're more impressed than when I say I self-publish stuff. And so he was like, "Oh, Dark Horse, do you like 90s comics?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I like 90s comics just fine." And he's like, "I love Spawn." And I was like, "All right, it makes sense that, sure, you like Spawn." And he was like, "Well, what do you like?" And I was like, "Oh, I like Hellboy." And he's like, "I hate Hellboy." And I was like, "Oh, this would be really awkward if you could see my arm." but he just fixed my back and sent me on my way. And he likes Spawn and hates Hellboy. And it's okay. We're still friends.
I don't understand where you draw the line there. I mean, I would say Hellboy is a much more likable character, but what do I know?
I would agree. But I also like this man was fixing my back. And if I told him if I thought Spawn was disagreeable, would he go full like Spawn and snap my back in half? Whoa. It would have been crazy. Then I would have had to go full Hellboy and hit him with my Fist of Doom. But
anyway. You keep that in the other room? Is that
I don't have any Hellboy stuff. I don't have a single Hellboy. No, wait. I have one Hellboy drawing in my house, but that's it. Like I have no Hellboy toys. I have Lobster Johnson stuff, which is kind of like weird and I guess a little obscure, but my husband likes pulp stuff, so I think people are just like, "Oh, that's a Rob thing. That's not a Marie thing." But it's mine too. Lobster Johnson in the house is mine.
So I want to dive a little bit deeper into this, into your grails, into your Abe Sapien grails. Have you looked into or had any desire to get any original Abe Sapien artwork by Mike Mignola?
I have Max Furiyama Abe Sapien page because what I could afford. I don't. So I had one interaction with Mike Mignola that was kind of weird, and so I don't necessarily think that he will ever want to talk to me again. It wasn't bad. It was just I gave him a book of mine at an Emerald City Comic Con, and he was discussing how difficult it was to go down the Emerald City Comic Con stairs at the end of the day. But I am a con gremlin and had been running around the Seattle Convention Center, all the back alleyways for a couple of years, and I was like, "Oh, Mike Mignola, I got a hot tip for you. There's a stairway down that way that no one else uses. It's because it's dark." And he was like, "I am not going to go down a dark abandoned stairway." And the look that he gave me was so chilling, and I felt like so look. If you're ever in the Seattle Convention Center, that is the stairwell to use. There will be no traffic. Your egress will be very swift, but it is a little dark, and I do know about it. So you may run into only me. But definitely not Mike Mignola because he won't go down that way. He already told me so. So I feel like I can't ever approach him ever again. I feel like our vibes might not mesh.
That's the most Marie story I think I've ever heard. Like,
I'm also convinced that I met Doug Jones that year, but when I asked him about it on Twitter, he responded to me directly and said that was not the case, and he had never been to Emerald City. But I think that the guy I saw was too Doug Jones-esque to not actually be the real Doug Jones. And I do maintain that I met him out of costume.
You're like one of the people who are like, "Oh, hey, I met The Rock," and they're showing everybody photos, and everybody's like, "That's not The Rock. That's the guy."
It was this. So I used to do these skate decks. I don't really do them anymore because they're a really big pain in the ass to ship and like haul and draw, and they're kind of expensive, so no one buys them. And I only like Abe Sapien, so that's all I draw. So at Emerald City the same year, I had an Abe Sapien skate deck out because I'm a freak. And this tall Doug Jones looking guy came by and he picked it up. And he's like, "I'm really good friends with Doug Jones. I'm going to take a picture of this and send it to him. Is that okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude." He's like, "He might want to buy it." And I was like, "That would be awesome." And then he walked away, and then he came back when I was at a panel, and my husband saw him and talked to him again, and then he left, and he never came back. But I hope in my heart of hearts it really was Doug Jones because he was so tall and he looked just like him. I don't know. Maybe I'm just wishful thinking.
No, it was him. But we got to go back to the Mike Mignola story though, because I can't remember what movie this reminds me of, but I feel like there's a movie where somebody says, "Oh yeah, you just go down there," and they look over there and it's like this really dark alley or something like that, and they're like,
That's exactly what it was probably like, yeah. And that's the look that they probably gave in that movie was probably really similar to the look that he gave me.
It was good. It was like, "I'm gonna get mugged, aren't I? I'm gonna get mugged."
Yeah, it was Goodfellas.
Is it Goodfellas?
when Sonny's telling his wife to go down there, just go down there. Just keep going, keep walking, and keep.
I don't want to be responsible for Goodfellas Mike Mignola.
Well, I immediately thought of maybe a worse scenario. It's like a Misery situation where he gets like kidnapped from the stairwell and then is forced to like make more Hellboy by
No,
some
we just
Ape
fan.
sapien.
Christof, I'll chase him in there. You grab him, and then I'll draw Hellboy, and he can draw Under Kingdom.
Okay.
And then we'll definitely get a book 2 through, like, I don't know how many Hellboys are there now? 800. We'll get like a run of 800 then for sure. Guaranteed path to success. Just
I
swap
think
me for Mignola.
This is the moment in the podcast where Jesus and I have to say that we do not condone or support any and all attempts to kidnap Mike Mignola.
We also don't, but if he does want to swap positions with me and draw Under Kingdom for a while, I'll trade and draw Hellboy. That's fine. That's fine.
At the very least, a single issue swap is in order, don't you think?
That would be the dream.
It's an itty bitty tiny body for Hellboy, but the fist like takes up 3/4 of the page. Every page is a splash. I would probably roll up to Christof with this and be like, look, I made all the panels in the shape of Hellboy's fist. Every finger is a panel, and Christof will be like, Marie, we can't have 20 panels on a page. It's a children's book, so only 5. Because that was Christof's biggest service to the people, was saying, please do not overpack these panels. It's a kid's book.
Please just work less was my keynote.
Well,
I think it's past him.
Christof, this might, I don't know. There's no good segue. However, the best I can do is say, Christof, do you have a Grail tale to tell us?
Yeah, I certainly do. I think like Marie and I were actually discussing this before the show, as neither of us are like big collectors in like the conventional way, I guess, in the sense that like the stuff that I kind of keep around is generally stuff I like, as opposed to things that maybe have like, monetary value. That said, my girlfriend is a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I think we have it's like a second or a third edition Silmarillion in the house. It's worth a few grand apparently, that she got from her dad. So that's probably as fancy as we get.
Whoa.
But the thing I chose for my Grail tale is a 1980s copy the Silver Chair from the Narnia series. So I got this handed down from my dad, the reason I like it is it's, Narnia was a big part of my childhood. So I have a few different books from like this series from this 1980s printing that I have in the house. And I keep them around because I love them. They're not really worth, I think I Googled, it's worth about $11 new. So it's not a particularly...
Wait, in Australian or American dollars?
Great question. American. So that's like maybe $20 Australian.
Wow.
But yeah, so it's, but I love Narnia. It was such a important series for me growing up. So I love keeping these around, especially again, because it was one of kind of the few pieces of media that my parents kind of passed down to me.
What book order is the Silver Chair in the series? Like what one
it's
is
the
it?
second last one.
Oh, wow.
And it's quite dark for Narnia.
I would just say, like, it looks like they had a desert on the cover, and I remember Narnia being cold and snowy from what I saw.
Give me a look.
I mean, that until Aslan comes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to go all out and say that Christof definitely knows more, but Narnia is a favorite in my household as well. I can't say I'm super versed. However, I'm told that they're actually going to adapt them again. There's news
that they're making Disney's making the Silver Chair, and it's to be announced when it's going to be released.
Oh, amazing!
But there's people producers attached to it already.
Oh,
and
right.
and a director.
The one of the many reasons I love the Silver Chair is that it has a character called Puddleglum, and I just love him because he's basically just like the most negative, just depressed, pessimistic character. But he's also like a good dude, and eventually kind of saves the heroes. And that was kind of the first time I saw media where it was like, oh, you can have like a character who's like a good person, but they can just be unpleasant to be around and like very like sad and negative, and that's okay. And that, just as like a young adult or a kid, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that you could be that. I thought like good guys always had to be like happy and chirpy and stuff. So one of the many reasons why I just love, Silver Chair is probably my favorite Narnia book.
And I think that This is that is a grail. That is the epitome of a grail. And Marie, yours is as well. They don't need to be valuable to be grails to you. And I think that's what's important is you both of you keep those items with you for a reason. And whether you are inspired by them or not to when you're creating, they are impactful on you in some way, shape, or form as they make up the material of your lives. And that is what makes a grail a grail. And that's I think that both of which are charming and fun and interesting in their own way. Christof, with regards to this book, did you have the whole set, the whole collection, or was it just the one?
Yeah, no, so I had the whole set. I don't think I have the whole set with me currently, but yeah, no, as a kid, I had them all, and I think it's one of the few series that I read multiple times.
Okay, I was curious if that was just the one you had, and you were like, that was the only one you read. That would be an interesting little tidbit.
Well, I was going to ask if you read it still, or when was the last time you read it?
That's a great question. I mean, I think I have kind of a mixed relationship with Narnia in the sense that, I think, so I was brought up in a very kind of reasonably conservative religious household. Not so much politically, but more just in terms of the kind of media I was allowed to have, So Narnia was really kind of my first taste of, fantasy. So I have a lot of love for it in that way. But then I also, as an adult, understand that a lot of kind of, C.S. Lewis's sort of religious perspectives are very sort of ham-fisted in there in a way that's a lot. And I also kind of think, particularly when you're writing for kids, I think you need to be respectful of the fact that they may not necessarily have kind of the tools to pick up on when a writer's putting their agenda in. I think you need to be respectful of that, and I don't necessarily know if C.S. Lewis is as a writer. And I think that's something that I think quite strongly about when you're writing for kids is like, it's on you to not kind of break their trust or violate the access that they're giving you, So I definitely kind of feel like that is, I have kind of a mixed feelings with Narnia because of that.
It's a really smart way to put that.
Yeah, I agree. We grew up in the generation where, the commercials had subliminal messages telling us to stop smoking cigarettes or start smoking cigarettes, depending on which commercial.
I don't know what to do. I keep starting and stopping.
Well, it's that thing about the kids don't have these layers of cynicism, which is, so beautiful. But I think when you're making anything for kids, I think as a creator, you have a responsibility to respect that. And I think it's a really just heinous thing to do to break, to break that trust.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So, and with that, so how much of this book do you keep it around as also a reminder of your responsibility as a writer?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I won't go too deep into this because this is a whole other subtopic that I have been known to rant about. But I listened to a lot of contemporary Christian rock as like a teen, and that's kind of the music I went to. And like Narnia, it was kind of seen as a safe space in the sense like Narnia, you could enjoy fantasy, but in a way that wouldn't kind of contradict, the religious teachings that I'd grown up with. And Christian music was largely the same. So revisiting a lot of this stuff as an adult, particularly, a lot of Christian music from the early kind of 2000s where the singers and the lyrics maybe don't always have the best take on a lot of social issues, and particularly things around mental health, and you go back and you're like, oh, I was actually pumping these like dangerous ideas directly into my head and thinking they were okay because they were coming from a safe space. So I definitely think with Narnia, to me, there's definitely that aspect of it. And I still have some of my old Christian music CDs because a couple of them are signed. So I just keep them around. But to say, same thing. I think it's just, the reminder of the importance of the responsibility. When someone lets their guard down, it's so important that you don't violate that or take it for granted. It's such a privilege, to be invited into a kid's life, to have the opportunity to maybe be the media that stays with them for life and has an impact on them. What a privilege. And you can't take that for granted.
Wow.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry to get all deep after.
Yeah.
You have to remember this for later when you get an award speech so that you can bring this out, because that's very profound and very important, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with your ethics here.
Christof, I don't normally transcribe these things. Maybe Jesus will and type it out for you. But it'll be eternalized in audio form at the very least. Thank you both very much. That is going to bring a conclusion to the Grail Tales segment, which again means that we get to press another button.
I was about to ask if we got another one.
Oh my God. Hell yeah.
Speculation.
I love it. I love these spooky beats.
Yeah, that was a spooky one.
I love it.
Speculation sometimes can be scary to people because it's the unknown. It is the world of guessing and calling something out that it might increase in value or is underrated or undervalued. And this actually happens to be the one most of our guests are the most uneasy about. We always get some sort of disclaimer like, listen, I'm not a collector here, so I'm just going to say. So if you guys have those disclaimers ready to go, that's fine. Don't worry about it. But I have to say, most people who say that usually drop some speculation bombs on here. So that's, no pressure.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure. And to try to help with that pressure, we're going to let Jesus go first. Jesus, what do you got?
I have one that is actually two, and I'm going to tell you what that means right now. It's kind of a little craziness going on here. So recently we had Rob Salcedo on, who is a programmer for the Alamo Drafthouse Theaters. And, great guest. And he talked about some comic books that he recommended. And I went out and I got those comic books. That's what we do, right? We're in the comic community. So I got those comic books and I read it. And I asked around a few, LCS owners, friends that I know here, and just, kind of picked their brain on it. And I got kind of the same thing, that it's a great book. It's a great series, but not a lot of people are reading it. Some LCS owners stopped buying after the second issue. Which I think is a shame, because I'm reading it and I'm enjoying it a lot. And I think it's really well done, really fun, really interesting, different. And I can also see it getting done into, as we talk about, other media, which would be cool. Now, that's the first part of it. So it's a good story, good artwork, really cool, low print runs because not a lot of people are buying it. And then the second part of it is, as a collector, it has a really cool thing that I like to call it. So it has two names: the original name, and then that name was censored by, I guess, the publisher, and it was changed to a different name. So there's also the variants with the original name on it, which I think are ones to get as well. So I'm going to talk to you guys about this book, or I've talked to you about this book, the original.
Yes.
What?
When you said that you his name, yeah.
It's Kyle.
Yes, and I'm talking about I Hate This Place. Is the PC version of it, I guess, which is really cool horror, different horror, and then the other version is Fuck This Place, which is the variant. And just so you guys know, when I found this, they had a sticker over fuck, amazing. Which I just think is hilarious. Like, it was censored even at the store. So these are the two different ones. It's a good story as well, guys. From a story perspective, go get this book. It's fun. It's different. It's cool. It's interesting. I went out and got it, and after I liked it, and I said, man, this is a cool book. Let me go get the variant. And it took me, I went to, I want to say, 5 different LCSs here locally before I was able to find the variant in the wild. They're still out there. So go and get these books. I have a feeling these are going to do well. Mark it down, take a picture. You guys know the deal.
Nice. No disagreement here. I think that variant, I think there's something there that people should want. I want now. Can I have yours?
Just look for it in the mail, Jake. It'll be there.
Kyle Starks' work is so funny. I cannot believe that it got censored. I can, but I can't. But it also like couldn't happen to a better / worse person, or like in a more perfect way. Oh, what a beautiful situation this is. That's fantastic. Oh my God.
All right. Well, 5 points to you, Jesus. Good job. That's good. You did a good job here. Christof, there's no pressure, but you do have to follow up, Jesus.
Yeah, I had a big think about this, and what kind of came to my mind was the first issue of the first arc of the Resident Alien comic from Dark Horse. I mean, I just adore that comic series. It's an amazing comic series, but like, I don't know anyone else that's reading it. And even, the TV show seems to be doing well. But again, I don't know anyone watching the TV show. So it just feels like a very kind of underappreciated thing. And it's such, I mean, the comic and the TV show are super different. And I just love that book. So it's wild to me that more people kind of aren't getting on it.
That's a very good point. We have not brought up that book on this show. And it's interesting that a comic was turned into a TV show and not brought up on this show, because we
I thought we've talked about it.
No, definitely not.
You talking about this? Hold on, this Resident Evil.
Yeah, no, not evil.
Not Resident Evil. Resident Alien.
Oh, my bad.
What's the Alan Tudyk?
Oh, yes.
So Alan Tudyk plays the
alien.
Harry Vanderspiegel. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But the comic is, to me, just, it's one of those comics that could only be a comic, and I think it's justified by the fact that the TV show takes the premise in a super different direction.
Is the comic a comedy like the show is?
No. So really, basically the comic is it's small town crime, and the person solving it just happens to be an alien. And he's he's stranded on Earth and he's bored. Whereas in the show, there's they lean more into the alien stuff. But in the actual comic, the alien stuff is a very small part of it. And for the most part, it's just a small town crime capers. And yeah, it's great. And it's really like just a pleasant, warm bath of a read. Really just, so I can't recommend it enough. And it's just wild. I mean, not more people are reading it.
Yeah, I mean, also it has a very low print run for the original 5,700.
Oh wow!
Roughly.
Wow.
Yeah, I was wondering what that doesn't surprise me that the print run. Yeah, the print run wasn't big. And again, like, I love the cover. The cover's just, so if you can find it, I don't know if it's going to be worth money, but I think it's well worth tracking down.
Oh, I think you got an eye for speculation there, Christof. That is one hell of a job. I am going to award you 8 points.
Hell yeah.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah, it is.
It's an incredible amount. He might win. But Marie, you still have your say in this.
I have mine artificially inflated. I went and got them. I almost dropped my special frong. So I got and these are not even all my copies. I just grabbed books 1 and 2. The Morning Star by Kaz Strapek. It was like a book, I think. What year did it come out? I believe maybe 2008. It's a small press book, so the information is in a different spot than normal. 2006. But it's like my favorite comic book in the whole world. I've always really loved it, and whenever I work with somebody, I give them a copy of the book. So whenever I see it in the wild at like a used bookstore, because they certainly don't reprint them anymore, I buy them and then I give them to other people. So yeah, I artificially inflate this market, but the Morning Star, it's just like a post-apocalyptic book. It's got like weird little Nosferatu-esque looking characters in it, and I love a Nosferatu. It's got like a weird assassin with amnesia, and I thought that was really fun. I thought that was a fun character. And it's an interesting book shape. Like it's very small and
I noticed the size. Yeah, that's interesting.
And then they look nice together. The color scheme on the books are quite nice. I like that a lot. I don't think that, Christof, I gave you book 2. I think I only gave you 1. But did I give you 1? Did I mail it to you?
I don't think you have. Look,
no, well, I have a copy here for you because I definitely have given one to like Jordan and Nadia and everybody else. I think I even gave one to Mark. So I need to give one to, I have a copy for you. I have many copies. I have all the copies.
Which,
so
by the way,
the Morningstar.
If you're actually picking up all the copies you can find, you're not inflating the market. You are actually making the market thinner, making them more rare. Yeah,
I'm artificially inflating the value of these books by buying all of them in the wild. But I think you can buy them new from Study Group Comics for $13. They're not particularly expensive. And I have had to buy them new in the past when my supply has run critically low. And I've only had like 2 books, and my husband's like, "Oh, you gotta get more books because you can't get rid of those 2. God forbid we have a shelf in this house without Morningstar on it. It doesn't feel full."
Well, due to the inflation strategy that you are utilizing to boost this speculation, I'm going to say 8 points. You're tied.
Oh yeah,
tied for first. Man, this is
how exciting.
Close call.
Man, so you guys are tied for first. Jesus, you're in second. So
wait, I thought he had 3 gold stars.
He got 5 points. He got 5 points.
Oh. I thought we were graded on a different scale, and so I thought that all three of us were equalized in the ranking. But now I see that this is not the case. I thought you guys got stars and we had points, and so that we would all even out and all of our picks would be chosen.
Guys, Jake is not like that, and so I have to battle and scratch and claw for everything on here. So just know that the lowest point wins. So I'm at 5. You guys are at 8. So.
I get it. I got it.
That's Jesus can probably count on no hands how many times he's actually won. So I'm gonna round this group out here. Hey there, spectators. This is the part of the segment I warned you about in the very opening. We lost the audio for my speculation segment, so I'm popping in here just to let you know that there is no speculation here from me. Unfortunately, we did not have the audio. However, it will come back in here right now. So that is my speculation. That being said,
8 points.
This is a really tough decision, guys. I just want you all to know this is very difficult for me to say, but I got 9 points. I won. It was close. It was super close, but you all tied for second, which is really good. Jesus has never once got second on this show, or first for that matter. So you guys should feel really good about it. And he's supposed to be a professional. Right, so
allegedly,
but in all seriousness, that is going to bring us to a close of this final segment and the show. I want to start by saying, Christof and Marie, thank you for joining us and for sharing your work. It is gorgeous. It is an amazing work. It is so much fun to read, and we highly recommend that all you spectators out there go. December 12th is the FOC date. And I believe April 5th is the store shelf date, right? Yeah. So you got you got runway, but make sure you get on that FOC to make sure that they get to book 2, because if you wait and you get to book 1 and they don't eventually get to book 2, then you're going to be more pissed off. So we can solve that. We can solve that by December 12th with that FOC. So but seriously though. We really appreciate you guys. Why don't you shout out where your ats are so that people can find you on the internet?
No. Do you want to go first, Marie?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm at SO_ENGERY on Twitter and Instagram, and then I also got on Hive because wait, which one is dying? Twitter is dying, I think. They're all dying. And so I am also on Hive now at SOENGERY because they didn't allow for underscores, so it's different. And I'm on Tumblr at SOENGERY, and you can find all my super cool Bill Cipher stoner fan art that has a sizable Tumblr following, and my Troll Hunters fan art, which also has a sizable Tumblr following, but I was not sharing publicly until Twitter died. So cool. Thanks, Elon. For enjoying my shame.
And then I'm at Christof Bogacs on both on Instagram, Twitter, and Hive as well. So Christof is just Christ with OF on the end, just one F, and then Bogacs is BOGACS.
Perfect. And you guys both have just been followed by our Twitter account, and I will make sure to find you on the other social networks that may or may not also be folding. We don't know.
I don't know what's happening anymore. Sign up for our newsletter, I guess. We do have an Under Kingdom newsletter that is actually really fun. And because Christof and I really like just kind of doing Under Kingdom stuff, we've done like exclusive content for the newsletter. That's really fun. I think it's really fun.
Yeah, it's a blast.
And how
we also that's a great question.
So the easiest way would be if you just go to my Twitter profile, my pinned tweet has the link there where you can just jump on and sign up.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. That sounds perfect. And I'll be jumping on that as well because I like newsletters. So that's
amazing.
Cool. All right. That is it. Thank you both again, once again. And thank you out there, all you listeners. We'll be back again next week. See you later.
Hold on. Are we announcing the launch of Under Kingdom Coin right now? Is that what just happened?
You have to go out and dig it in the earth yourself. It's literally just actually panning for gold. You go out into the woods with your pan, your Under Kingdom pan. You can just do that with, I think, like any dishware from your house. I don't think you have to go out and buy anything special. You go out into a stream and you just crouch there for hours and you sift through the rocks. And whatever garbage you find, that's the money now. I think maybe I should probably, since this is like a kid's book, do a disclaimer and be like, please, children, don't like go into a sewage drainage ditch and just start sifting around for garbage with a plate. But that is what Under Kingdom Coin is. So if you want part of this hot new currency, it's garbage. It's literally trash. Yeah.